Oh my God! Home inspection! This is like by far the most stressful part of any seller's journey in selling their home. And if you're telling me that you don't feel any stress during that, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. That's what I'm here for. I feel like I am an expert at buyer inspection negotiations because it's hard. It's just hard, you know. You have an inspector come to your house and they are going through every nook and cranny, and I'm telling you, they're on the roof, they're inside your attic, they're crawling around in there in the 110-degree heat. They are looking at air conditioning units, they are looking at electrical, they are opening every window, they're checking every plug, they're running your dishwasher. I mean, you name it, they're doing it. So it kind of feels like a little vulnerable, right? I really try to prep my sellers for this, to say, hey, listen, we don't have to do everything. We don't have to do anything, right? You have that option, that obligation, that right. But here's the deal. I always call this my second set of negotiations because we did do the purchase contract, right? We got through the terms, the down payment, the price, the close of escrow, but this is a whole nother animal. And so when it comes to having a home inspector come to your house, you want to make it accessible, right? You want to be able to accommodate that home inspector. You do not want to be there. Please do not be at your home inspection, okay? Because it gives the buyer the chance to talk to the inspector. Now, if we get some good inspectors through, we get good, we get bad ones. You don't know. It could be a crapshoot. But the home inspector is really going to try to focus on the big things, the things like in Arizona, your air conditioning unit. We must have them here. So they're going to point things out like that. They have to point out the small stuff too. Some of the little things like the door doesn't close properly on a closet, or the gate is wobbly. Things like that are going to come up. But what the buyer does is once they go through that inspection, they're going to meet with that inspector at the house usually. If not, it could be virtually, or maybe they weren't there and they speak afterwards. And the inspector is going to go through a line itemized list of everything they found. And then on the other side, they're going to ask you for items to either be repaired, or they may ask you for a credit. So it depends on the situation that you're in, right? Some people are cash light. They may not have the means to get some of these items fixed. And sometimes the buyers may not have the means to get these items fixed, and that's why they're asking for these particular items on your property to be repaired. So what we do is we negotiate, and I like to negotiate before I actually put anything in writing, because once it's signed, sealed, and delivered, that's it, right? So the buyer asks you for the repairs. You have 5 days to respond with your response, which means I can fix some of the things, I can fix none of the things, or I can fix all of the things. Now, if I can fix some of the things that are requested, the buyer can cancel. None of the things, the buyer can cancel. If you fix all of the things, the buyer can't cancel. Now you're saying, Michelle, well, what if I offer a credit for all of those things instead of the repairs? The buyer can actually cancel. If they want you to do the repairs and they don't want a credit, essentially you could have a buyer cancel out for that purpose. That's why we discuss up front with the other agent, hey, listen, if we do this, if we give a credit or we do a repair, how will the buyer feel in that situation before we respond? So we will get that information up front for you. Now, let's say we issue that credit. The credit doesn't come until at or close of escrow. That will be on that title settlement statement, okay? And then the buyer will receive that credit at close. So that's not an upfront cost. But here's the thing we do on Team Minik, and I want to tell you, this is so very important when you're choosing a realtor. Please listen closely, very carefully. We have vendors that we have worked with for years, over 20 years, some of my vendors. So I can get roofers out there, I can get contractors out there that are going to give me estimates on the true value or the true repair value so that we're not flying blind. Okay, so let's say the client asked you for $5,000 and we got an estimate, like I just had a roof estimate. This is actually a good story. We had the buyer's agent sent me a roof replacement for $20,000. My roofer, $12,000. That was his estimate. Guess what we ended up paying? $12,000. That's why you use a professional real estate agent who has connections. Okay, so remember, buyer inspection, very important. Be prepared. Make sure you have an expert negotiator like myself or somebody that's on my team, and make sure they have vendors that they trust. And that's what I'm talking about right there.